What are the top 3 biggest mistakes with HEMA as a movement? Number 1 for me would be the anti-authoritarian kind of libertarian or anarchist type of approach that HEMA has taken. What that's basically done is made it really difficult for us to mobilize as a group and work on our shared goals. For me, that doesn't mean having a shared rule set, coaching the same way, interpreting sources the same way, or doing things the same way. I actually think they should be pretty different. What I mean by that is having some sort of very loose structure that can provide things like a code of conduct, can help us move towards negotiating with governments to get funding and get some recognition as an activity. Unfortunately, not having those things in place has made HEMA pretty rife with different types of abuses that have happened, as well as really varying standards from club to club that can be kind of harmful when you're sending your students out to visit a place. I think if we could put aside our differences as a group and work together collectively on a few things that we can all agree on, we'd be way farther along than we are. Number 2 for me is reinventing the wheel with training methodology. You get a massive variety in HEMA, and that's totally okay. And it varies a lot from traditional sort of martial arts training where people stand in lines to more modern training methods like playing games, learning through solving problems, and then finally also through some pretty classical methodologies like one-on-one lessons or group lessons that resemble classical or modern fencing. One of the things that we do know is how a lot of these historical lessons were taught. A lot of manuals include books of lessons where a master is giving lessons to a student kind of individually, one-on-one, like a plastron lesson, and this is still taught today in fencing. It ends up being really, really effective for teaching, especially the fundamentals, and it works even better when you pair it with some of the modern games and training methods that are being used today. You see a lot out there on people kind of plateauing, spinning their wheels, getting frustrated with training, or even feeling a lot of imposter syndrome. And I think all of this is really easy to resolve with the correct training methods, and there's a lot of people out there that know how to do this stuff. So again, rather than reinventing the wheel and having an aversion to modern training methodology or classical training methodology, I think it's really important to draw on that and build upon it to make it fit with whatever we're trying to accomplish today with historical fencing. Now, number 3 for me is an important one, and that's an aversion to sportification. Way back in the day, and this might be before your time, but I remember it, on forums, one of the big discussions for historical fencing moving forward was avoiding the pitfalls of sportification. Today, there's a lot of people that are still really adamant, maybe even the majority of people, in avoiding sportification for HEMA. But one of the things that I want to point out is that sporting has always been a part of HEMA from the earliest times. The historical aspect and the sporting aspect of fencing aren't really exclusive. Most people that I know do both elements of it, right? There's maybe some people that really like to focus on the sporting side of things and aren't interested in historical sources, but for the vast majority, that's part of the curiosity, that's part of learning, and that's where you come back, try new things, get ideas. Even for a modern athlete, it's actually a really good thing to study the sources because you find tips, tricks, and techniques that you wouldn't have known elsewhere, and they can work even in a modern fencing setting for Olympic-style fencing. At that period in time when HEMA was starting, there was a lot of discussion in the martial arts worlds of avoiding sporting because it was somehow corrupting really martial technique. The truth is that sporting teaches a lot of the most important skills that you would need in a combative setting. So distance, timing, keeping your head cool under pressure. Those are all really good things. Now, they're not the only things that are going on, and it's important to study different contexts for fencing. But that said, it's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to help you a lot. So those are my top 3 biggest mistakes in the HEMA movement. Let's hear yours.